Ray used to write me from Comstock, said stay away from the fake thugs on the Maris Mons block. The onslaught when drug dealing was non-stop made me grimy and decrepit like the Bronx dot.
Peace everyone, this is Lauren, aka Lboogie. I'm here at the Brooklyn Promenade standing with Q Unique, a former artist, or should I just say artist of the Arsonists?
Former of the Arsonists, just in my own lane right now.
So right now we're just doing a short interview with Q. He just had a new album release called Between Heaven and Hell.
Yes. Yep, came out on Fat Beats Records on September 7th, and it's my my sophomore release after the Vengeance Is Mine album.
And how many years in between was that album released?
6 years, but in between, like I've stood busy. I put out a couple of CDs, and I was also featured on the La Coca Nostra album as a producer and a writer, and on the Ill Bill, DJ Muggs versus Ill Bill album, and a bunch of other features along the way.
So the Vengeance Is Mine album, that was a totally different sound than what Between Heaven and Hell is. This album, I've been listening to it, it's a different stage of your life, I can tell, and I can hear that in every single track because every track is different. Why the title? What inspired you to make this certain album in this style using that certain title?
I guess I came to the conclusion that my own personal opinion, I think that we all have that walk between heaven and hell every day of our lives, and whatever your belief is, whether it's between light and dark, between good and evil, between happiness and sorrow, for me it's between heaven and hell, and I feel like that's the balance that we have to maintain as we're all alive on this planet.
What do you want this album to accomplish?
Wow, man,
Sorry.
I think that I want I've always been one of them lyricists that I want people to listen to the words. You know, some people are bent on the best beats and trying to keep it as simple as possible, spit the hottest lines, and with this album I wanted people to listen to my experiences and listen to my opinions and listen to some of the things that I've seen, and the way I always, well, right now I look at my style as an audio-visual style because you could listen to it, but it's very visual. You could picture it.
Right.
So that's what I want people to do. And after this, I don't know, man, because my life took a crazy split where 5 years ago I became a lead vocalist for a rock band, and something that I would have never predicted, and I got to see what's going to happen with that.
It's a completely different genre. You went from underground hip hop to this hardcore, rock sound. But that's who you are too. That's another side of you.
Yeah.
So is that still going on right now?
Yes, it is. We're wrapping up. I'm actually leaving October 1st to Europe to meet up with Fieldy. Fieldy from Korn is in my band, and we're gonna start. We started rehearsing for a show, and we're gonna try to wrap up by maybe possibly getting 2 more songs done, and we're very happy with it. The name of the band is Stillwell. We also have Wub from POD in the band. He's the drummer, and Spider is the bass player. It's a bunch of colorful names, and I'm real happy with that, man.
Who helped you produce this album? Like, who helped you develop all these sounds?
I think I did the bulk of it, and as far as other producers, Quincy Tones from London, Necro, of course, Al Tarba from France, my man Lost Son, Rob Flo from here out in Brooklyn, and that's it when it comes to production. I kept it really simple.
Fat Beats just closed, as we all know, and I know that's your record label, so if you could give a quick story of how that came to be in regards to how you're associated with Fat Beats and how that plays a role in your life musically and personally.
Man, it's crazy because it went from me shopping there to me working there to them distributing the Arsonist singles to eventually, me becoming an artist on the label. And, I have a very long history with them, with Jab, with Eclipse. And, it's a place that has been a home for artists like myself, independent artists that just have their own way of thinking and not trying to conform to radio. And they've always been the headquarters for that, So, if you look up the people like myself, Ill Bill, KRS-One got an album that just came out on there, and Black Milk, and I mean the history goes on. Even Atmosphere has had records that have come out on there, so the history, you know, is pretty deep, and you know, love them guys, man. Hip hop is in a state of evolution now, you know, where we have to figure it out, because I think that eventually the physical copy is going to be it's going to be history, and exactly. It's going to be all digital, and I think that it's going to your live performance is going to mean a lot, and you're going to see a lot of people disappear because you know, a lot of people just can't perform on stage.
Well, if there's something you could tell the incoming generation and the present generation of this underground hip hop, but also this hip hop industry, I do this because I don't think it's what really, you know, hip hop should be. What would you advise and encourage for the upcoming artists?
Man, I'd say it's kind of weird, because it's like, take your time, but don't take too much time in what you're creating. You know, really think out what you're doing and have a strategy aside from just being a rapper or an MC or a lyricist. Have a strategy on how you're going to make it work. Don't just run up and say, oh, I'm a great. That was the thing that changed for me this year, is when I approached Fat Beats, I didn't approach them saying, hey, I got this album and I love my album and I got a great album. I approached them by saying, this is what I've done, numbers, this is what I've sold here, know what you're doing, you know, because at the end of the day, it is a business, and you got to understand it is a business, and that's that. Are
there any artists that you're noticing as of recently that are up and coming, or that you personally would like to see blossom in this industry? Anybody? You don't have to say.
You know, I don't know if it's necessarily up. You know what? I don't know if it's necessarily up and coming, but there are some people that are close and personal to me that I look at their grind. Like, for instance, I'll bring up the first dude I'll bring up is Ill Bill,
right.
And I know that, you know, certain people check from and all of that, but I think that because I know what goes on behind the scenes, as far as his work ethic, and especially the work he puts into his videos and his music, it's like you kind of look at it and you're like, you know, what, you know, why is he not, like, for instance, he has a lot of animation going on. I'm like, why is he not on Cartoon Network? You know, he has the most sickest, I mean, if you ever get a chance, he has the most incredible videos going on, and you're sitting there and you're like, wow, this is an independent artist doing this. Yeah, it shouldn't be underground. What the kind of work he's putting in and the kind of hustle he has, and you know, there's other, like my boy Destroy. He's another one. He's very talented, and you know, because I know behind the scenes, I'll be like, you know, what's missing here.
A former interview I did with DJ Clips and JS1 at Fat Beats when it was open, we were talking about a bunch of different things, but one idea was if you had a reality show that was like a DJ boot camp. Or even a musician boot camp. Right. Just something that would have, you know, the one generation teaching the new generation. What would you want to see in that content, either DJ or artist, just to have the real experience?
I think I would like to see the history and the true definition being taught correctly. That's all. It's real simple, because I'm not, you know, where I'm at in my life right now, I'm not a hater. I hate the word hater.
Right.
But I know that sometimes when I turn on a music channel and they say hip hop, and I'm looking at them like, nah, yeah, that's, I mean, you know, they're making the definition so broad in general now. It's like, is it hip hop because of the color of the skin? I mean, is it hip hop because of the way they wear their clothes? I mean, why are you calling that hip hop? Because to me, a lot of it is just urban pop. And, you know, that's the way I call it. I call it how I see it. You know, it might have elements of rap in it. Right. I have no problem with that. Just like, you know, there's metal bands that have the element of rap in it, but is that hip hop?
Right, exactly.
No, it's just, you know, they have an element of it in their music. So it's like, at the end of the day, not to say that all hip hop needs to sound like what came out of 1986 either, but I think there has to be a true definite. I think we all got to come together, and I would love to see that on a show where we have to truly figure out what it is.
How would you define hip hop, personally, for yourself?
You know what? Hip hop to me was a way of expressing what was in your surroundings. And I guess that's why Between Heaven and Hell to me was a real hip hop album, because whenever for me, the people that I looked up to as a lyricist, starting from Melly Mel all the way down, and when they were thrown into those situations, given the songs like The Message and stuff like that, right, they were talking about their surroundings, and then they had their songs that were braggadocious and happy and all of that. Hip hop is supposed to be soul music from here, from New York. It's everywhere now, but it started out to me as soul music, and I don't, what they classify as hip hop right now to me isn't soul music. It's just pop music. Right. Well, a section of it is, and I guess that's the best way for me to describe it. It's an art form that truly comes from the soul. When you see all the other elements doing their thing, it's like when I look at a proper graffiti piece that's done, without the intention of making money or something, they just going out and doing their thing, you could look at it and be like, wow, this guy really came, or this girl really came from within. Exactly. And did that.
Between Heaven and Hell, if you can find it in stores, definitely buy it. You can find it online.
You go to qunique.com, q-unique.com, and it has all the tabs, whether you go to fatbeats.com or ughh.com or iTunes or Amazon. It's there, man.
Support your true hip-hop.
I wake up to the center, got a gun and a gorgeous bro.
What up, y'all? This is Q Unique, and you're checking out Lauren's video. Pay attention. We talking some real shit right now. Name of the album is Between Heaven and Hell, Fat Beats Records, qunique.com.
I look in the mirror and see what I've become. I miss the man with the golden voice and the iron lung. He's caught in between heaven and hell. Got a child that he never held, an enemy that he could never kill. Put him in a prison of flesh. Now he's making a decision between